So in problem number 1, square root of negative 36. As soon as you see that negative sign under the radical, what are you thinking? I, imaginary. Okay? If it wasn't for the negative, what's the square root of 36? All right, square root of 36 is 6. But because of the negative, it'll be 6i. No, the I has to go on the right-hand side of that 6. Okay? Now, number 2. Again, as soon as you see that, that negative sign, you know it's going to be an I involved. So if it wasn't for the negative sign, we would just have the square root of 45. So let's just do the square root of 45 real quick, which you should be able to do without a calculator, but let's just move on. 3 radical 5 is what you would get. All right? But because it was a negative under the radical, it will be 3i radical 5. And the I goes between the two numbers. All right, here's a brief discussion of the placement of I while we're at it. There are 3 possibilities. Sometimes we have just a regular number like 5. Sometimes we have a radical like square root of 5. And then sometimes we have both, like 5 radical 5. All right, let's talk about where I goes in each one of these 3 situations. Okay, if you have just a regular number, the I goes on the right, 5i. If you have a square root, the I goes on the left, I radical 5. If you have both, it's going to go in the middle. All right, and if you think about it, it makes sense because that puts it to the right of the number, like we said it should be, and to the left of the radical, like we said it should be. So it can satisfy both at once if you put it in the middle. Okay? All right, for problem number 3, problems like this where you have I to a power. This relies on the chart that you have to be able to generate on your own like I'm about to do right now. So let's all remember how we create the chart. Okay? Hold on. Here's how you make the chart. Let's see. Let me make some lines here. Okay, so here comes the chart, my good people. The chart comes from doing this. We will have I to the 1 power, I to the 2nd power, I to the 3rd power, and I to the 4th power. This helps me build my chart. I to the 1 power is just I, of course. I squared is -1. You should definitely memorize that. Okay? These other 2 I could get from I squared if I had to. For example, let me jump down to I to the 4th power. I to the 4th power is I squared times I squared. Right? Because that would make I to the 4th power. But I squared times I squared, that's -1 times -1, because we just said I squared was -1. But what's -1 times -1? Positive 1. So if you memorize it, great. All right? I to the 4th power is 1. You could memorize that. But if you forgot, you could just quickly do -1 times -1 and see that it's positive 1. Okay? Now, I to the 3rd power turns out to be -I. All right? And guys, be really, really clear. Ones and I's and -1s and negative I's, they can look very similar. So be real clear. If you want it means to be I, make a really clear dot. All right? Don't have a -1 and have some kind of a stray little mark floating around somewhere like this, where you're like, oh, okay? So I'm like, is that supposed to be part of is that part of your I and you just have bad handwriting? Make it really clear, because if I have to wonder, is that a dot? Is this supposed to be an I? As soon as I'm wondering, I'm just marking it wrong. It's up to you to make it clear, okay? Anyway, back to the chart. Now, money in order. Money, okay? Now, the reason why I did the yellow column was to help me with the money. Because that 1, I'm thinking 1/4. How much is 1/4? 25 cents, 0.25. 2, I'm thinking 2/4. How much money is that? All right, that's 50 cents, which, yes, is the same thing as just 0.5. 3/4, how much money is that? Right, 75 cents, 0.75. And 4/4, how much money is that? That's $1, okay? Notice when I say $1, no decimals. No decimals. Okay? Now, what does it have to do with this problem? I'll show you what it has to do with this problem. I can use this shortcut to evaluate I to the 50th power by doing 50 divided by 4 and seeing what kind of a decimal I get or don't get. What is 50 divided by 4, class? 12.5, okay? So I focus on the 0.5 aspect of that, and then I use my chart. 0.5, oh, that's the one that comes from -1. That's it. That's all there is to it. If you can make the chart, then you can answer these questions. Yeah. Okay, so that should be -1 for that one. Okay, look at the next one, 101. So I do 101 divided by 4. What'd you get? 25.25. Okay, so I look at the 0.25 aspect of it, and I look back at my chart. Oh, that's the one that goes with I. So I is the answer. Yes, class, it's just that easy. Okay, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, let's do it again. 260. So I do 260 divided by 4. What's that? 65 even? 65, no decimals. Okay, no decimal, that means it's just 1. So that's what I put. Okay, then I do the 315. 315 divided by 4. What's that? 78.75. Okay. Oh, 0.75 you say. 0.75, that goes with the -I. Okay, is that it for this type of problem? So that's how you do I to any power. Any questions on that aspect of it? Okay. Find the discriminant. State the number and type of solutions. Alright, so remember, this is what we learned about the discriminant. The discriminant is the b squared minus 4ac part of the quadratic formula. We learned that if it was positive, that means we were in this situation, 2 real solutions. If it was 0, the picture would be like this, that's 1 real solution. And if it was negative, we had 2 imaginary solutions. And if you thought about it, hopefully it just made common sense to you. Of course, if it's negative, you're going to have imaginary solutions, because that means you have a negative under the radical, and that's where imaginary numbers come from. The reason why we get 2 solutions in the first place is by adding and subtracting the square root part in the formula. So it makes sense that if it's 0, adding and subtracting 0 doesn't change anything, so you don't get 2 solutions. So of course you're only going to have 1 solution if it's a 0. So hopefully you don't have to memorize this. It sort of should be common sense to you. Anyway, if you have to memorize it, whatever. So, find the discriminant. Before you can find the discriminant, of course you have to put this in standard form. So you got to subtract that 6x from both sides. Right. So that's going to give you x squared minus 6x plus 5. Yeah, bruh. Is that a problem? Alright, you're worried for me because I'm acting silly. Have you listened to the videos before? Don't I often act silly on the video?
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, true, because it's usually like AM, something AM. Anyway, so the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. So in this case, that's negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5. Whoops, I messed up. Start over. Alright, it was negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5, correct? So 16. Discriminant is 16. Alright, so fine, that's the discriminant. What does that tell you about the number and type of solutions? That means we're going to have 2 real solutions. Okay, number 8. Let's see, so b squared minus 4ac, so that's negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 16. Okay, so it was negative 8 squared. Notice how I put this negative 8 in parentheses. You need to do the same if you're going to use a calculator. Alright, it's minus 4 times, I already forgot, times 1 times 16. All right, times 1 times 16. Right. 0. So we get a discriminant of 0. What does that tell you? 1 real solution. Okay. Stop me if you have any questions. Whoa, skirt. Alright, so number 9. We got to put it in standard form. So maybe we subtract 4x squared from both sides. Or you could have added, you could have moved the 5x and the negative 4 to the right, whichever way you want to do it. So doing it this way, I get negative 4x squared plus 5x minus 4 equals 0. So b squared minus 4ac becomes 5 squared minus 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. Okay, so that's 5 squared minus 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. Negative 39. Okay, so the discriminant is negative 39. What does that tell me about the number and type of solutions?
2 imaginaries.
2 imaginary solutions, because it's negative. Okay, so that's number 9. Alright, we're switching gears here with number 10, and we're actually solving. So I'm going to stop this video right here. We'll pick up the next video with number 10, solving quadratic equations.